Think back to when you were in your third year of high school, perhaps studying for the upcoming entrance exam. Back then, we were all excited for life after high school graduation. Beautiful campus and exciting days. I was one of those students. So I got in, and for the first few months, I did feel like college life is summer vacation in life, as is often said. I had lots of free time, so I went to karaoke and barbecue, watched Netflix, and all that kind of stuff that college students would normally do for fun. And there seemed to be nothing to be stressed about. But there was just always something unsatisfactory about my college life. Half a year had passed, and I felt, what am I doing? Is this the life that I wanted it to be? Then I realized that all of the fun I thought I was having was just a way to cover up the emptiness I felt deep down. In simple terms, I was not happy. Then I met M&A. I started a long-term internship at an M&A broker company, and my boring life started to change. But before I get into my main point, I want to start by briefly explaining what exactly I'm doing as a job. First of all, M&A stands for mergers and acquisitions. It is the process of combining two companies to create a new entity that is more efficient and effective. And my department particularly focused on M&A of startup companies. It is such a complex process. It involves lots of contracts and negotiations, but to explain our job in a really simple way, it is to match up startup companies with the right enterprise and support the acquisition process. Now let's move back to the main part. One of the most famous and successful startup M&A is probably Facebook buying Instagram. And what's surprising is that Facebook paid $1 billion for a company with just 13 employees. So naturally, it raises a question. Why do big companies want to buy startup companies? Why do they bother doing M&A? They're already making a profit. Why can't they just stay the same? The reason is that maintaining the status quo is the same as losing. To survive, companies have to grow. There is a theory that I learned in a business administration class, which is called the innovator's dilemma. To explain briefly, this theory states that large enterprises have to focus on the improvement of the existing product, so they'll always be one step behind when new innovation takes place. And thus, they're eventually destined to lose against new startup companies. And one suggested way to overcome this dilemma is to promote what is called open innovation. Open innovation is the idea that new innovation comes from collaboration with external sources as opposed to the traditional closed innovation, which relies solely on internal resources and knowledge. And one way for the big companies to do this is by M&A of startup companies. So to summarize, for companies to survive, they have to grow. And to grow, they need innovation. And to promote innovation, they have to be open and seek for startup M&A. That is the basic logic behind why big companies should be actively involved in startup M&A. However, Japanese enterprises are sometimes criticized for being reluctant to startup M&A. Compared to American corporations, they tend to prefer closed innovation rather than open innovation. So this summer, I was working at an M&A brokerage firm almost every weekday, learning and thinking about M&A, and this got me thinking, could the same principles of growth and openness apply not just to companies, but to our society and even to us as individuals? Perhaps this theory that we have to take in new things to survive might be a fundamental role of nature. Let's take countries, for instance. No empire has lasted forever in world history, but Rome and Ottoman prospered for a relatively long time, and this is partly due to the fact they embraced different ethnic groups and different cultures. Even take America, for example. It is a country with many immigrants. A lot of successful tech companies that support the US economy are founded by people who moved to America. Same with the individuals. It is hard to maintain the current level of happiness if we stay in the same position. We need to grow. We always need to strive for a better life. And to do that, we have to challenge something new. And yes, there's always resistance when we dive into a totally new environment, and there might be some conflict when we accept new immigrants, and when two companies merge, they always have to deal with the post-merger integration challenges. But despite those difficulties, we still have to take in something new. Looking back, I realized that much of my dissatisfaction came from staying still, from not being brave enough to get out from my comfort zone. Because for me, happiness isn't about staying still. It's about moving forward, evolving, and embracing change. And that's why I'm standing here today at TED. Speaking in front of you is well beyond my comfort zone. But that's exactly the point. If there's one thing I hope you take from my story, it's this. Happiness isn't found by staying still. It's found by challenging ourselves and daring to seek something more. So whether you're questioning your career path, exploring new opportunities, or stepping into the unknown, remember, true happiness comes from growth. And to grow, we must be brave enough to keep questioning the status quo and embracing the unknown, even when it feels intimidating. Thank you.